What is going on, Guardians? Ember here with another one for you. Today we're going over a fantastic build that you can take anywhere in Destiny 2 and find success. Whether you are in the Tormentor room of the Dual Destiny mission, counting those nodes 1 through 9, and then going to the last room and using it like a clock as the Traveler intended, or if you're on ad clear or boss damage duty. Anyway, let's go ahead down below this video, absolutely obliterate that like and subscribe button. Let me know in the comment section down below what your favorite callouts to use in the Dual Destiny mission are. And without further ado, let's get to it. So let's go ahead and check out some of the moving parts we have with this build, and then we'll get into some gameplay and talk about how it all works together for an incredibly powerful, balanced, all-around build that you can use in almost any content out there. Number one, we have our cloak with the Spirit of Calaban and the Spirit of Star Eater. This is going to give us a way to get extra super damage and to clear waves of ads pretty easily, since we're going to be pairing that with a very specific melee ability in our class screen here. We're using Golden Gun Marksman for the most amount of damage with that exotic piece with the Star Eater scales, and then we're using the combination blow right here so that we can get a bunch of those ignitions off basically any time we want, and almost as many as we want to. We're also going to be using Grapple Grenade because the grapple melee will synergize with the Calaban's hand as well. Our aspects are Ascension and Stylish Executioner, and then our fragments are Blessing, Purpose, Balance, Dawn, and Awakening. Let's check out our mods here in the artifact. These are all real interesting this season, and some of them have some really unique ways that they interact with this build. We'll go over that in a little bit. And then finally, our mod screen over here, you can pretty much take all of this down and almost go into any content that you want. Like I was talking about, it's really, really fun. So let's go ahead and check out some of that gameplay.
Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it!
Alright, so let's talk about our aspects really quick. Number one, we're using Ascension, and this is a really great tool for you to get out of some sticky situations, especially since we're pairing it with the next aspect here, which is also really, really great. We'll go into exactly what that'll do, but number one, this is going to launch you up into the air, and it's going to jolt the targets around you. Oftentimes, this will pretty much kill anything that's under you immediately, and so it can clear out a really huge wave of ads that might just
This is embarrassing.
be swarming you all over, that you might not have a melee charge or something like that for immediately. It's a good way to just kind of get out of a sticky situation. And we're going to be pairing that with Stylish Executioner, which reads, defeating debuff targets grants invisibility and true sights. Your next melee, while invisible, will weaken targets. So this is really fantastic to pair with Ascension, because when you're doing the Ascension part of that aspect there, you're going to jolt everything, and it's going to usually 9 times out of 10 kill something underneath you, and that's going to immediately turn you invisible because of Stylish Executioner. And since we're pairing this with so many of our other things like the melee and the grapple melee that we have equipped here, this is going to be really great for any of our abilities, because we're going to go invisible directly after using them. Moving on from there, our fragments. Number one, we're using the facet of Blessing. Melee final blows start health regeneration, and that's obviously going to be great since we do have the Calaban's hand. Once we go ahead and get a melee off, it's going to immediately give us health regeneration, and usually, since the Calaban's hand perk will be activated, we're going to kind of wipe out that whole wave of enemies there, making really quick work and regaining any health we might have lost. After that, we're using Facet of Purpose. Picking up orbs grants restoration. Now, this is a fragment that depends on your overall subclass, or if you're using Prismatic, the super that you're using. Since we are using Golden Gun, it's going to give us restoration. If we were to use something like the Silence and Squall Stasis super, that's going to actually give us the new Frost armor that they just kind of built in to Stasis. So it's all dependent on which of those supers you are actually using. After that, we're going to be using the facet of balance. Rapidly defeating targets with light damage grants melee energy. Rapidly defeating targets with darkness damage grants grenade energy. This is also really great. Anytime we get a melee off that's light energy, it's going to give us melee energy back. So pairing that also with our grapple grenade melee, that's going to be technically a darkness damage, so it's going to give our grenade back. Another loop that kind of just feeds right into itself. And next, the facet of Dawn. This is probably one of the more popular with any build fragments to use. This is going to make powered melee hits give you Radiant. It doesn't have to be a final blow, and it's going to just immediately give you Radiant for 8 to 10 seconds, whatever the cooldown for that is. And it's really fantastic to just get a little bit of extra damage, essentially for free. You can do it on a boss, you can do it on any enemy that you might see. It's going to give you that Radiant and extra damage. And lastly, the facet of Awakening we're using to give us ability final blows, generate elemental pickups. A lot of the time, since we're using our Ignition Calaban's hand, it's going to create fire sprites for us to pick up, and that's giving us grenade energy. So you can kind of spam those grapples all over the field if you want to, and it's going to be a great way for you to kind of just keep that loop going. You're going to get some energy back from that. You're going to get some energy back from impact induction, which we'll go over in a second. All of this is going to keep our grenade up pretty much all the time. Alright, and the artifact is up next. Make sure there are two very specific perks that you should grab. Number one, Shield Crush. This is going to make it so that anytime we are amplified or radiant, the effect is going to speed up our grenade recharge. Just another way to keep those grapples moving at all times so we can fly around the battlefield at will. Then pick up the Radiant Orbs so that anytime you pick up an orb, you're getting Radiant as well. So we're getting Radiant and Restoration from picking up an orb, the same way we're getting Radiant and Restoration when we get a melee kill. And so this kind of makes it so that we don't have to run any of those mods that make it so when we get a melee kill, we drop an orb. But anytime we see an orb, we can still pick it up to get those effects as well. And some important armor mod choices that you should use while using this build, and I mean a lot of builds in general. If you're using something like a grenade heavy build, something like that, maybe you got a really good Verities roll on one of your class items recently, is the grenade kickstart and adding impact induction. Just one of the mods will give you 12% of your grenade energy back just for dealing damage with your melee. There is a 7-second cooldown on that, and so I mean using something like the combination blow that we're using here is really helpful to keep that up for long enough that we can get multiple uses out of it and then give us basically our entire grenade charge back pretty quickly. It's super helpful. And then make sure you're always using powerful attraction. It's really great, especially when you're using something like a hunter where you get your class ability back every 20 seconds or so. That's going to help you keep those orbs on your person, and then you don't actually have to pick them up for the restoration or radiant buffs. And now that we have the full build put together, it might not be as strong as some of those wombo combo class items, but I think this is an incredibly strong build for overall use. Really, anywhere that you go in Destiny, you have some utility that just really is super helpful in basically any situation, and that makes for some really special moments. And Guardians, that's going to have to be all for me for now. Until next time, be without form, swift as lightning.